monikers like Monday, Cobweb, and eventually Morpheus, after the Greek god of dreams. She was experiencing an awakening to being, not your average person. Her outsiderness began to make her special. Morpheus was curious about the occult and was experimenting with her own private spirituality, more conscious of the cycles of the seasons. Hers was not a sudden radical conversion, but a slow, natural slide into the craft. She started communing with nature late at night. My bedroom was on the second floor of the house, and I would go and sit out on the roof and listen to the owls and sing to the moon. She began to feel that something unhuman was out there. She could feel its power move through her. The redwoods transformed from a place for bonding with her father into a place that called to her alone, set her apart. She soon discovered her first book on witchcraft at the house of a friend who looked uncannily like Robert Smith of The Cure. This was before witchcraft became friendlier, new age-ified, so most of the books available were less spiritual and self-helpy and more compendiums of have a blast, make crazy shit happen spells. It was how to do spells and promise yourself to the Horned One and deny Jesus, Morpheus says. I loved that. She remembers a love spell that required using a mirror to capture the reflection of two dogs mating, inscribing it with the name of your love interest, and then burying it at a crossroads. What she read reinforced the instinctive spell work she'd been doing on her own, chanting, playing with candles, improvising rituals when the moon was full. And her experiments went further. At 16, she'd started cutting herself, for typical adolescent reasons. She was unhappy and numb, and the cuts made her feel something, and she became fascinated with blood as a kind of concentrated power. She'd take out a razor knife and ask her boyfriends if they could taste each other's blood. Or she'd use her own as ink, for writing out whatever she wanted to transpire. Teenage angst fed her magical technique. Her earliest sexual feelings became a source of power as well. When Morpheus first discovered masturbation, touching herself became ritualized and, in her imagination, connected to larger forces. It was basically primitive sex magic, or magic that draws on sexual energy to achieve a goal. I had these ideas that I built up in my head, like, if I do this and I'm thinking about a certain thing, when I reach a climax, something will happen. At just 10 years old, she'd worked out an elaborate scenario with her dolls. She had a blue-haired doll that was her little witch, and the witch had a shop where she doled out spells. When Morpheus would orgasm, the doll's spell would be complete. In a household in which her parents were shy and awkward about sex, somehow their younger daughter had become convinced that the intensity of her first orgasms could create change in the universe. When Morpheus discovered sex magic nearly a decade later, the concept was already natural to her. After her junior year, bored and frustrated, Morpheus dropped out of high school and threw herself into a series of random jobs. She laughs at the self-conscious teenager she was then, remembering how she was fired from a nouveau riche yuppie travel shop for being too grim. I would be dragging my ass around there, dressed in black, trying not to talk to people. I don't care what wattage of adapter you need. It's all meaningless and void. You're all androids. But when she was hired to work at a Mountain View metaphysics shop, the Psychic Eye, a place that sold everything from talismans to cauldrons and crystal balls, her identity came into focus. As did many budding witches in the pre-internet era, she found in the local occult shop her first real resource, her self-taught, book-learned witchcraft, her private experiments, her angst in black and rooftop chants to the moon. It all made sense. At 18, she finally found herself among real priestesses. Shannon and Morpheus first